Today is the 28th of, what about July, right? 2021. Welcome to the News Preview segment here on Pan-African Television with me, Kwame Owusudan. So, this morning we're touching on a number of issues. Commenda Sugar Factory in ruins as snakes, rats take over 7,500 job facility. That's on the front page of the Inside newspaper. NBC sacks Samuel Koku Anidoho, the Ghanaian publisher. Ejra Mayhem report ready. Sack MC, punish soldier. That's on the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper. I don't want to believe that these are the topics that they selected, because there are several other topics that I believe we can touch on. And maybe, just maybe, we can, for instance, deal with the issue of unemployment. I posted on my Facebook wall, I think 2 days ago, and then I asked a very fundamental question that after graduating from the university and after doing a national service, what's next for the Ghanaian graduate? And I had over 200 to 300 comments, everybody just saying the same thing, literally, that is why we have So Help Me God as part of the national anthem of Ghana. So help me God. So after university, after national service, so help me God. Because it appears that we've not put in place proper measures and structures and created that enabling environment for young people to be able to even want to do their own businesses. It's practically impossible to do that. From procurement of loans to several other things, it's just a difficulty for the young Ghanaian. So maybe we'll touch on unemployment, which is on the ascendancy in Ghana, and the implications it has. It trickles down to the very fabric of our economy, national security, and all of those things. So we'll perhaps also touch on that. But for now, these are the topics that we've selected for our conversation this morning. Commenda Sugar Factory in ruins as snakes, rats take over 7,500 job facility. That's on the front page of the Inside newspaper. Let me start with you, our very own political analyst, Dr. Marzuk. Doc, this facility was built under Mills Mahama administration, and one would have thought that it was going to, because the idea was first of all to create employment and also to begin to now look inwardly and see how we can boost our economy, by reason of putting up some of these factories that will produce some of these products, so we don't have to now import and things like that. Because we spend a lot of money on importing sugar, for instance, into the country. So one would have thought that this was the nail that was going to be hit in the coffin in order that we could ameliorate the sufferings of the Ghanaian people. But it appears that for political expediency, or for whatever reason, the factory has been left to rot. And we have not packed our conscience behind our actions, because if this government, for instance, is saying that we are doing one district, one factory, this could have been under that scheme. Because governance is a continuum. So, the sensible thing to do, or for any progressive nation, one would have thought that the sensible thing to do would be to, bring this under the umbrella of a grand scheme that will still allow for young people to get jobs to do. But we've left it to rot, unfortunately.
Good morning to the church viewers and viewers, and thanks for the opportunity. You said these days I don't greet my Yana.
Yeah, Yana.
Special good morning to the Warmachimba of Yana, of Myanglana, of Yuna. And good morning to the chief and people of Nantong, my constituency.
Wow.
The people of Wa, the people of the whole of northern region, and all Ghanaians are also greeted. Thank you. I think this is not new, but it is news. It is not new because it is part of our political culture. It is news because it must be discussed in an attempt to find a solution. And if you look at what is happening, we can figure out two fundamental evils of our governance structure. One, the lack of maintenance culture. Two, partisanship over nationalism or patriotism. Let's let me start with the maintenance culture. It is generally part of the Ghanaian, or the habit of the Ghanaian, not to have a proper maintenance culture. That is the case. Most of our national edifices are not maintained very well. And when it comes to a factory that has been established by a previous regime, the lack of maintenance culture is taken to the overdrive. And it is very important for Ghanaians to understand that ours is not the struggle to gain. Ours is rather the burden to maintain. If you struggle to gain, that is just the beginning. The future of what you struggle to gain depends on your ability to maintain. So this is just another scenario depicting the Ghanaian lack of maintenance culture, which becomes more serious in the political circle. Then the partisanship over patriotism,
right,
and that is even more serious. We seem to have continuity of political loyalty or continuity of ideological orientation, but we do not have continuity of national projects. It doesn't matter. You have always been talking about national development plan.
Absolutely.
And I think this situates very well in the context of the national development plan. I don't know how we can have that national development plan in such a way that it will be binding on any political party to rule this country in line with that plan. Even if it calls for constitutional review, we have to do it. But this continues to deepen the mistrust between one political party and the other, and even within some members of a particular political party. This is very unfortunate. It should have been an opportunity for this government to tell the whole world that it is meant for the Republic of Ghana and not for a particular group of people. Let me tell you, let me give you a scenario. If this government has taken that Commenda factory, that would have resulted in a number of values. Values of unity, values of solidarity, values of love, values of tolerance, values of economic progress. Because at the end of the day, whatever the company does is not to serve the interests of the founder. It is rather to serve the interests of the nation.
Absolutely.
The founder may even die. The political party that produced the founder may not be in power for some time, but Ghana will continue to exist.
Absolutely.
And if you have a policy that enjoins you to use every opportunity, because this is a very good policy, one district, one factory. And beyond that, I think this government has a lot of initiatives that could have been pursued in the context of this factory. For instance, jobs for the youth, right, falls within this factory. The factory falls within the context of jobs for the youth. Then Ghana Beyond Aid is another area that this factory could be used to enhance. Then we talk of one district, one factory.
Right.
Another area suitable for this factory. So I do not understand why the factory should be abandoned.
Right.
In the context of patriotism. The only way we can get a justification is partisanship. And I think we have come to a stage where patriotism must be put over partisanship. I strongly believe that it is not too late. The government can reconsider its decision in relation to the company and ensure that the company is utilized in the supreme interest of the nation.
Brilliant submission. Thank you very much. Well, if you are a viewer and you're watching us right now, let me ask you to participate in this program by sending us your message and your WhatsApp messages and your normal messages via our WhatsApp and text number, which is currently on your screens now. So you can join in the conversation. It's very, very interactive. And also, we're streaming live on Facebook, facebook.com/Pan-African Television. So you can as well share with us what your thoughts are on Facebook as well. And on YouTube, we are also streaming live on YouTube. So let me now come to you, Dr. Kokuma Otto, on this very subject matter. Commenda Sugar Factory in ruins as snake rats take over. And with the kindness of consideration, I wish that you could also consider some other matters which are incidental to this conversation. Issues relative to, for instance, the E-blocks which were built by John Dramani Mahama, which have been left to rot in the bushes. There were several other hospitals and some health facilities which were also built by the previous administration, which have been left to rot. Now, putting all of these things together, why do you think that we continuously do this? To think that we are hurting our opponents, but the final sufferer, if you will be the Ghanaian people. But we continue to perpetrate these things without any, any consequences.
All right. Thank you. Good morning to all viewers. It's unfortunate sometimes we come here and then we have to be lamenting over the same issues over and over and over again. Commenda Shoe Factory. I know, coming before probably I submit.
Please.
Let me say this, that you see, in contemporary political activism, we should know and bear in mind that often than not, various governments will want to embark on programs that they will receive some goodwill from the citizens.
Yep.
And NDC, NPP over the years, whenever they come taking over projects, I want to believe that they try as much as possible to continue and also try as much as possible to convince the people who voted for them that indeed this particular project, if I'm to complete it, it goes a long way to enhance my goodwill in the eyes of the people. Now, here we are, abandoning several projects, especially when it comes to projects that will help solve the issue of unemployment in this country. And Commenda Sugar Factory is one of them. I quite remember very well that there were some difficulties associated with this project. Probably when you get to the turn of one of the officials who were in government by then, probably you can share with us some of the major difficulties with respect to raw materials, with respect to a lot of the investors and all that. So here we are today. A new government has taken over. And you could see that it's been very difficult. If you want to chronicle the events, okay, when it comes to Commenda Sugar Factory, there was a time the current government wanted to even offload it to the private sector. They did some valuation, and I quite remember the opponent in the opposition by then were of the view that even the valuation was understated, undervalued, that it wouldn't create any value for Ghana. And even in spite of that undervaluation, we couldn't even attract any investor to take over the factory. It tells you that there's some hidden challenge, there's a difficulty associated with this particular factory. And if indeed the government has any way to solve it, I know they would have solved it. But one could ask, what is the problem with Commenda Sugar Factory? That is a major question anybody at all will ask. Because the commitment by the former, the current trade minister, I remember very well, Alan Tremantin, coming out to even do valuation in order to get private investors, which I support. You see, government, often than not, I've always been stating this, because of the caliber of politics we do in this country, government should just move away from business. Their major business is regulation, ensuring that laws are enforced. Everything that calls for competing with the private sector, the government should just wash off its hands. So I was happy when the leaders tried privatizing this project so that a private businessman will take over the sugar factory. But once again, that very difficulty we are facing probably has hindered the takeover of this particular factory. Now, you tried.
Financial person, do you think
yeah.
the best solution is for government to stay off from doing business? Because I hold a view that government has every business doing business. You know, so for example, we can have state farms, we can have state plantation, we can have you know, several other things which would have economic benefits, etc. So don't you think that from where you sit and from the experiences that you've gathered over the period, I'm sure, I know you are very experienced when it comes to finance and things like that. Don't you think that given the kind of economy that we have every business doing business?
My brother.
Yes, sir.
Why have we to sustain the state farms? And those? Why have we to sustain it? Naturally, there's this intrinsic values of every human being to own whatever he works for. And contemporary governance, there's evidence to show that, look, successful government will only create the enabling environment for the private citizen to develop. Now, virtually all the successive governments have failed to sustain whatever investment ideology they have. So I still wonder why they continue to do that. Let's come to the real estate industry. Globally, the private sector is given the opportunity to develop. Have you ever asked yourself why the government, with all the social amenities, obligations on their hands, are not able to provide the so-called affordable houses for the average citizen? And year in, year out, projects are initiated, they are abandoned, knowing very well that these are capital-intensive projects. And for that matter, you need to guide the private sector. Empower them so that ownership belongs to the private sector, but not you. Trust me, Kwame. If it is initiated by MPP, the mistrust, and then most of their people will make sure that the benefit will be derived by their constituents. The same applies to NDC. And whenever they come, the rhetoric continues. We started, and then you see, the ones say we started something, and when they came, when they took over, they didn't continue. They are all culprits, because MPP currently has initiated some housing, provision. It's not true. When we have other housing projects begun by the previous government, when NDC came, when NDC was given the mandate, there was this Kufuor affordable housing project in there.
Segleme.
Then they began Segleme, borrowed money, huge amount of monies, which some of us are even contesting. That if you have this number of houses you want to build with this amount, with that huge amount, and at the end of the day, you could not even complete all, and the amount has been exhausted. Yes, we have cost overruns. As a financial person, I understand cost overruns. Okay, it will surprise you to know that something that costs probably 2 cedis today, in the next moment in the economy, it can triple by 300%. It's part of economy because of what the system will practice. So, Kwame, it's unfortunate, but please believe you me. Let's look up to what the other countries are doing. We have decided to go capitalism, not the absolute one, but we want to empower our people. That's the theory we are teaching them in the classroom. That is what they are learning from everyone. That empower me and let me use my initiative to develop the country. Let's see how best we can do that. Then the government always coming in. That is why, personally, Kwame, I am so much into one district, one factory. Government will not give you money, is not going to establish any company. Government will help you, assist you with all the plans that you have. If you are bringing in any business for a particular location, the government says, okay, I have this location. If you want to invest here, these are the incentives I have for you.
Are you not disappointed that as a nation, you're talking about all of these things?
Yeah.
And let's be very clear in our minds. And I like the reference that you made to the fact that you think that we are running a capitalist economy because MPP are. So I can grant you that, right?
Okay.
But are you not also surprised that prior to the 2016 elections, several things were said. One of such was that the kind of system that we were running, right, by Nana Dankwa in his estimation was going to be changed because he's at the time said that we're running a Gadgetsburg economy. A Gadgetsburg economy is a fixed economy, you know, which means that it's a colonial, you know, economy which doesn't help the changing times in which we are, right? And so several things were going to be done. One, again, was that we're going to move from importation to production. Are you following me? And these were some of the things which government decided to do in order that we could at least lower the margins in terms of revenue losses that we have in this country. But from what you are telling me, I mean, look, you have Commenda Sugar Factory in existence already. Suffice to admit that it had its own challenges because it was not fully completed. Suffice to admit that.
Okay.
But for a progressive country or for a progressive president or somebody who describes himself as a progressive president, his preoccupation should have been to resuscitate, or if you will, find ways and means of completing that which was started by the NDC so people could get job to do, so that we will stop the importation of sugar. And that would have actually addressed that issue for him. Are you following my argument?
Yeah.
So in all of these things, we have not been able to do that. We are still borrowing. I'm saying that government's role should be a superintendent role.
Yeah.
And must not necessarily be actively involved in, for instance, production and all those other things. So why do we borrow? Are you not upset and very disappointed that we only borrow to pay our debts or to pay off debts, as opposed to borrowing, right, to inject some level of economic fuel that will necessarily have, you know, some benefit for the younger people, and that will also allow for that enabling environment that you are talking about to be created, so that people will get jobs to do. So, what I'm trying to actually put to you is that it will not be entirely correct to say that we should allow the superintendent role to only be dealt with by government and for every other thing to be done by the private sector. Don't you think that it is a system that has to merge, right, successfully in all spheres, so that we can forge ahead and look into the development that we are looking for?
I think you are speaking my language.
I'm not speaking your language, because
the two systems must merge.
Yes.
And one must play, and there are various roles.
Yeah, but you are looking at superintendent role. So I'm saying that the person who has the purse, right, the person who takes the decision, is government.
Okay.
Right? And private sector also has a role to play, obviously. One village, one down, one this, one factory, and all those things could have been effectively executed, in my estimation, if it was done pari passu, right, with private, I mean, with government. Because government from the outset said, oh, we're going to build factories for you in every district. That's what government said.
Yeah.
Government never, in its manifesto from the beginning, very beginning, mentioned that it was going to be done through the private sector. It was until later that Hawa Kumsap, no, it was Haji Alima, or Hawa Kumsap, one of them, was interviewed and said, oh, we are only assisting the private sector to be able to build those factories. So I'm saying that it could have been successful if we had government full, involvement and participation in that process.
Kwame,
Yes,
it's not working. You see, unless you tell me that there's a new way that probably I don't know that of the views of the opposing party today. You know, even the Commenda sugar fund we are talking about, when it was completed, partially completed by NDC, they were having issues. They were having operational issues.
Granted, and I'm saying that something could have been done.
Thank you. So,
so why didn't we do that?
So it tells you that one, from where I come, I ask, did we do the necessary feasibility studies? Did we invest in all the areas that will facilitate the value chain? Were there raw materials to support the factory? Did we consider all those things when we were going to invest the taxpayers' money into this venture? Huge amounts of money. Yes, in as much as I want to believe that the NDC had the best, the best of sentiment and then the best of understanding to what? Alleviate the poverty of the people in that area environment. I want to believe that they should have done all this work before committing that huge amount of money into this factory, so that once we commit ourselves into it, production will not cease. My problem with government being the referee and the player at the same time is the historical evidence of what we have committed the taxpayers' money to do. It always doesn't work out.
It works out. It works perfectly under Kwame Nkrumah. Oh. It worked perfectly under Kwame Nkrumah.
Why did he fail? You see, let's not go.
It failed because he was overthrown.
There were several
imperialists. So you told us that there were
several factors.
Yeah, but by the imperialists, you cannot.
Let me tell you.
Say that.
Let me tell you. You see,
yes.
Over the years, look at development in most of these developed countries we are talking about. Yes, we have the countries which have transitioned from communism, socialism to capitalism. Some are passing social capitalism systems. Now, Kwame, over the years, if Kwame was even around, some of these factories would have been privatized.
How?
Trust me.
You don't know that.
You see, you develop in tandem with the ideologies of your people, not you imposing yourself on them.
The ideology of the people.
In tandem,
you see,
with the ideology
what is the ideology of the people?
Now, Kwame, today.
What is the ideology of the people?
Today, yes. I know very well that your aim, one day, is to be a man of your own. Own your own TV station. I'm presuming you want to have what you don't want to have that external control. You want to create value in your own understanding, but not being restricted to a particular way of doing things. So over the years, in globalization today, people are even, you cannot even control the thought of your children. That's what I'm talking about. So we now live in a world where the government is supposed to create the enabling environment for its people to develop the country.
Well,
creativity is derived from the people.
Right.
You see, that is where I'm coming from.
So you think that
yeah.
Don't you think it is demised in thought, right? For you to make this submission off the back of the topic that government, Commenda Sugar Factory is in ruins by reason of government's deliberate.
Not deliberate.
Then what is
not
it?
Deliberate.
What is it?
Inability to ensure that is
inability to ensure is being deliberate about something. Because if government, you're talking about the fact that we have not been able to provide. In fact, you said that the honorable respect, I'll be coming to you shortly, please. I just want to deal with this matter. You mentioned the fact that the NDC failed in its attempt to properly execute this because it didn't factor into the equation the supply of raw materials to the factory. Now I've heard the MPP make this argument, advance this argument so forcefully, right? But I think it's very
not true.
It's very lame for anybody to do it. Because if you have a factory in Commenda, you must not necessarily, it does not mean that you must necessarily have raw materials from Commenda.
Thank you.
You could have grown
Thank you.
the what's it called? the sugarcane in another region, thereby creating another job for the people in another region.
That's very true.
Let's assume that the NDC at the time lacked clarity of purpose, and therefore was not able to execute its mandate to full effect. Right? Let's assume. Let's grant that.
Yeah.
Is the NPP also demised in this thinking?
That's unfortunate.
Exactly. So that's the point I'm making.
That's unfortunate. I think we're on the same page. Okay. So don't make it look like the NPP probably for not reviving this particular factory. I'm speaking for them. No,
I've not said that. I never said that.
I am only looking at it from what we did before establishing this factory, and for which today we are struggling to hold on to the investment we have pushed into this factory. Now, and my statement, probably to conclude, my belief is that, look, Kwame, let the government work in tandem with the private sector. Explore the initiatives of the private sector. You may have the best of initiatives. Please make sure you involve the private sector, because at the end of the day, over the years, there's so much evidence to show that government doesn't do well in business. Yes, they don't do well in business because they are followers. In fact, their followers will run all those factories down. That is why I still believe that even in future, if Honorable's party takes over, okay, the running of this country, we should do everything possible to maintain the principles of one district, one factory. They can even make it two factories, one district, one district, two factories, okay? And then make sure they work in tandem with the private sector in order to develop with the ideologies, the contemporary ideologies of your people. That I want to be a self-established.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Gokumato. I mean, look, it only stands to reason that any right-thinking, logical human being with the intention of wanting to address the fundamental labyrinth of the people would act in ways that would bolster confidence.
Yeah.
And it is sad, right, that we are talking about government working in tandem with the private sector in order that we could create jobs for the average Ghanaian to do, but we are failing to allow government to play a specific role in that process. I find that to be very troubling. Dr. Washi Pepu,
yes,
we spent over $35 million in putting up that structure called the Commenda Sugar Factory. And I'm very sad because, I mean, look, I have been there. I'm from Elmina. So Commenda is in my constituency. And I'm saddened by this because of what it could have achieved. But we have so politicized even the idea, that not just even the idea of creating jobs have even been politicized. And therefore we have failed, to create jobs for people because of political expediency, because we feel like, okay, well, because NDC did it, if we try and help, the factory to run, they will say, to NDC. Because of this, backward infantile thinking, we have not been able to successfully put the Commenda Sugar Factory into good use. And I'm hurt, right? I'm hurt. I've listened. I'm sure you've listened to varied reasons why we've not been able to execute that. But we are also very perplexed by hearing those things.
Yeah, I'm very much disturbed about it. But before I go on, my regards to my people who are central, and especially the youth of WA who are.
There's a new guy that I was introduced to, Randy.
Oh yeah.
I like him.
Yeah, Randy.
I was talking to him.
He's trying to contest the regional chairmanship.
Yeah, I didn't know that until yesterday when I greeted him, and somebody, in fact, Saka Salia, said, "Oh, but Randy is contesting." I said, "Oh, really? He's a fine gentleman." I kind of like him, but that's not your business. But I like him. I like Randy.
Well, thank you so much.
And tell Randy I'll campaign for him.
Okay.
Just greet him. When you go, just tell him, Kwame says,
be careful. Well, you know, Honorable has another person.
Honorable can have his place, I don't care. I'm only campaigning for Randy. And now Dr. Mazud Meboa. If you have a choice.
Ours is democracy.
No. Sorry, Doc, please proceed.
But you see, we don't declare our.
You can't declare.
So
I have declared.
Okay. The issue of the Commenda sugar factory is a painful recognition of our failure as a people to do what consistently can help this nation. Over the years, we have complained about importing sugar with billions of dollars into this country, just importing sugar.
1 billion.
Yeah, billions of dollars. And we thought that, look, let's get a factory so we don't import. $35 million is not too much to set up a factory, so we can cut off 1 billion of import. Give the job to our own people, get situations where people in Commenda and all other places where sugarcane can be planted and harvested to get involved in it, and then there will be a ready market for it. MPP complained that we didn't set up the farms before the factory and that it just takes 1 year to do that. And God, being kind to them, he gave them power. 5 years on, that 1 year to have set up a factory still has not existed. But that tells you the difference between the NDC and the MPP. When Atta Mills of blessed memory came, there were major projects. Remember the five, how do you used to call them? Those 5 major projects that were started, political projects that were started between Tetekwashi to Legon.
Is it the roads?
The roads.
Yeah.
The road projects.
Yeah.
You know, the 5 projects. There's a
name for it.
There's a name for it.
Yeah.
You know, Tetekwashi Accra was to Adenta was one of them. Then you have the Sawam Road. They dug it, and it was difficult for vehicles to pass through. I mean, so terrible. And all of these major roads, Kumasi overhead and all that, they were done with GOG funding, meaning there was no money. They were just political projects.
Government of Ghana.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, political projects. Yeah.
Yeah, they dug on them. They dug on the roads. They didn't have money to do it. When Atta Mills came, he said, look, I'm going to get myself involved in these projects and finish them. He found money, finished the project, and nobody even recognized that it is he who did it. They still attribute them to themselves, but he didn't care. He got to some of the flats, you know, buildings, residential buildings that he tried to put up, Kofo tried to put up and couldn't finish. He finished them. He kept his DCEs in office for 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was actually very, yeah.
Yes.
Do you remember?
Sorry, when you say the flats, are you talking about
the housing project?
housing project?
He did some housing projects, not all of it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because we still have some.
No, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so he did a lot, you know, and then it demonstrated very strongly that government as an organic whole is a continuum, will continue no matter who comes, because it's about Ghana, as you earlier mentioned, and not about the individual who is the member, who is the leader. And so the situation of the Commenda Sugar Factory is a very painful one, that we sunk so much money into it and we get rats, snakes in that place. That we sunk so much money onto it, hoping that jobs will be created, and in the end, challenges occur for us to go back to it if there's any possibility to try to renovate it with maybe similar amount of money or more. It was laughable when I heard Chairman Tim was criticized over the weekend by one very very critical panelists, and he said he didn't believe in of Alan Cash. Because if you wanted to demonstrate that you are different from Nana, being the trade minister, you should have made sure Commenda Sugar Factory
was up and running.
Even though I accepted that criticism for him, but I thought that he has a father, he has a president whose interest everybody works, all the ministers work. So he worked for a president who didn't want Commenda Factory to continue. So they abandoned it and leave it as it is. When you look at Ghana, these situations that occur, and you look at what happens in the developed world and some of the developing world, you feel that there's something wrong with the black person, not just the Guinean. We started off with Malaysia. The first time I entered Malaysia, I went into Malaysia. I was shocked what I saw. I mean, a country up there in development. Trains are running, vehicles, private-owned systems are working. The place is very neat, very, very well organized. There's order there. And I hear that we started off together. If you took Malaysia 2001, when I went there, and Ghana today, there's still more than 100% difference. Because if they tell you at this time, 5 minutes time, an aircraft, what do you call that? A train will come. 5 minutes, a train will come. And the place was so extraordinarily neat, you couldn't imagine. You go to Korea, which Ghana was better than at the time of our independence, and you marvel. I mean, Korea is like the heavens for an African. So clean, so neat, well organized. Malaysia is using Ghana's technology on palm oil to grow palm oil. Now they can change palm oil into diesel, and they are doing very well, exporting palm oil and making people great. And even China, that came to take our cocoa, is now exporting cocoa. And we are here. Simple one factory. Akufo-Addo has come, fought against everybody, said he's going to be the best president. We can find money, we are borrowing too much. He has borrowed more than anybody could imagine, several times over, and has done nothing with that money. The money your mama borrowed, the money Kofo borrowed, the money Atta Mills borrowed, put all of them together, and Akufo-Addo's money he borrowed is more than all of that put together. So you ask yourself, who are we? Are we really the kind of quality human material that God has given us so that we can utilize the land at our disposal to make meaning of our lives? You wonder. Throw seeds on the ground in any land in Ghana, they will grow. Wonderful land. Dig the soil, you will find gold, bauxite, everything. I mean, we have everything. And then we don't have the brain. Or rather, we are not utilizing the brain. And this is highly manifested in the life of the president of Ghana in this particular era of time. It's showing clear manifestation of our backwardness, of our backward thinking, and has been perpetuated by this regime. Other presidents try to break away from this pain of not being able to do things for ourselves. And so we try to now, look, let's do the factory, let's do the roads, let's do the universities. Between John Mahama and Atta Mills, we did about 4 universities. We did roads. We tried to do the schools. We tried to build the hospitals. We tried to lift the image of the country to an admirable space where people can say, yes, you are in Ghana. And then they came, borrowed the money, and it is lost. You don't know what they do it. So it's very painful when you hear Baumia saying that the economy was down, we now put it up, and we have done what, even the projects we have done are more than what the MDC has done. And you begin to look at the person saying it, and you wonder what is in his head, whether these things are really happening in space or in the reality of our country. Where are the roads they say they have built? Where are the schools they say they have built? Well, what is it that they say they have done that is so tangible that you can vouch for them? It is because they have taken the manifestation of the backwardness that we all are fighting against. They have shaped it in their government, and it has happened to us. I don't know what Ghanaians are going to say after this government has gone, because we need to break away from this regime's attitude and impunity. Take a gun, shoot people, kill them, and nobody is saying anything. The president can go and be talking about what happened in America,
George Floyd,
Lloyd Floyd, you know, and compensating them. Nigeria, he compensate. I mean, talking to them, sending money to Lloyd Floyd, sending money to France for the burning of their cathedral. And then back in Techiman, 8 people are killed because of election violence. He hasn't even said a single word about it. He hasn't visited the place to talk to the people, and etc. etc. So you wonder, what kind of regime is this? They went to his presidency, gave money out as bribe to a member of his government. He says it's okay. He has investigated it and it's fine. Cash for seats, he said it's fine. You go to all kinds of places that you imagine corruption has taken place. He thinks that there's nothing wrong. So, and then you have people defending it. Yes, they defend it and they say that Nana Akufo-Addo is doing well, this, that. There's a government that we have never seen. And you wonder what kind of Ghanaians we are. So, I think that this is a bad omen to us. The abandonment of the Commenda sugar factory is an insult on the conscience of the Ghanaians. You know, it's attacking our real image as a people who will fight for ourselves. Fighting for independence doesn't just mean asking the colonial master to go, but a demonstration that we can do what they are doing here better, and that they are stealing what we could have used to build this country. Now the people have gone away. You go to take people to come and take the thing and go away. You pay them to come and take it and go away. You work for several years, take all the money you have, buy a ticket just to go and become a laborer there. So I don't know what we are about. There's something definitely wrong with the mentality of the Ghanaian.
There's something definitely wrong with the mentality of the Ghanaian. Yeah. These are the last words of Honorable Dr. Rashid, people in respect of the subject matter, which is why this Saturday we are adoring our new baby. Socialist Forum of Ghana is now transitioning to Socialist Movement of Ghana. And yeah, we are going to have a branch in Wa. Yes.
I have a senior man, Alhaji Abdurrahman Jamatutu.
Okay.
He's a very, very serious kidder. Okay. He's so interested.
Okay.
And we are going to have it sit in Wa in the Upper West region. We'll have a socialist forum there.
Right.
And we want to take part in this event taking place
on Saturday in Winneba.
Yes.
Perfect. So, right, I'm sure Mr. Pratt is already watching. And after the show, we'll talk to him and then, But this Saturday is happening in Winneba. So if you are in Winneba and its environs, if you're in Accra, you can travel to Winneba. Make sure you partake in the Socialist Movement of Ghana. That is going to be properly so launched. All right. Honorable, why have you people sacked Kukwenyi though? I like the way he laughs.
I'll give you the reasons why I laugh.
No, wait. Let's I want to hear. Yesterday we listened to General Mosquito, and I was just trying to, because he was interviewed on the evening news. I was just trying to appreciate, but I want to hear from you. Why have you people sacked Koku Adido? Your former deputy general manager, general secretary, of the NDC, Koku Anido, the right-hand man of Professor Mills. You people have fired him. Why?
Well, belonging to a party is a choice by the person.
I like that.
If you belong to a party, you operate within the conduct of the party and obey its rules and regulations and fight to defend it. If these things are lost in your daily conduct, and it is easy for you to criticize your own party openly and destroy it when others are building it, I believe in my leadership. I know they have seen things I cannot say here, much more than we all see. As for the public criticisms that Koko Anyidahu has been embarking on, we all hear and we all see. But there gets to a time when people who can no longer be accommodated within the precincts of a political organization can be allowed to go.
Absolutely.
So that you can make a choice about your life. In fact, I think that the announcement by the party is just a formality. The man had left. He had left in his attitude towards the party, in his conduct towards the party. They only needed to say that, okay, once you are going, please go. Because it is, you should work with as a former general secretary. Nobody should tell you to go. You should make sure you perpetuate the interests of the party in the minds of people. And you should fight for it tooth and nail. If you leave it and then you join the opposition to the party and then start cutting the roots of the party to fall, it's better you are recognized amongst those who do so that those who want to build it sacrifice their brains, their money power, their muscle, so they can work on it. They can work on the party and build it. I cannot see belonging to any party or any group, and then I'm the chief critic of the group. And if I do it within my house and within my conformity, within the confines of the party, I'm fine. I mean, you can have people responding to you. It can strengthen you. I criticize where I belong to. This party, I even criticize it, but I do so when we are together. There are things that we can criticize, but you do so when you are together. But to take the ills of a party, and every party has those ills, to another party or to the public, which is our subject of struggle. The people are the subject of our struggle. You go to tell them we are bad. Who else can go to tell them we are good? So that is the problem about it.
Right.
If John Mahama is our leader, and I cannot openly say I support John Mahama, I mean, who then do you support?
Who then do you support?
He is our running mate. We want him to win the election. We want him to be the person leading the party into victory. And they ask you a question about him, you cannot say anything about it. Do you like him? I don't know. It's not about him. It's about the quality of leadership he represents in the party. It's about the symbolic representation of the party in himself as a person. It's about what he is, the leadership role he plays in leading the party to some circumstance of victory.
Right, right. Thank you very much, Honorable Rashid Popo, for that submission. I can appreciate why you are a bit measured, because it appears that, there are some things that you cannot spill on live TV. Yeah. But Ras Hill says, Skelde, good morning to you. I saw you in Hoho. Ras Hill, you are Kokonsapa. You are Kokonsapa. Yes, I was in Hoho. I stopped in Hoho to buy a few things. Yes, you are right. On my way to my father's village, Aka Buem, in Oti region. Very beautiful place. You guys should just see. I'll take you people there.
Good.
Good.
Does it have beautiful human beings?
Oh, of course. Of course. You should have met my dad. Unfortunately, you didn't meet him. Very sweet man.
Okay, that's good.
Awuakara Nuruddin Bitis. Tell Dr. Rashid Popo that Suleiman Kwekubako and I are watching him live from Kalrendorf Street, down Soman.
Oh, Kwekubako.
Yes. We are proud of him, and he will be vice president and president in the not too distant future.
Wow.
Suleiman Kwekubako is informing him of his intention to go for Upper West Regional Youth Organizer of the Limping Corrupt. His friend is contesting for the Upper West Regional Youth Organizer of the Limping MPP Party. All right. Good morning to you again. Citizen Francis says the expulsion of Dokuanyido, who is yet another scheme to erode former President John Evans Attamon's legacy from the history book of the NDC. This is a grave sin against males of blessed memory. May his soul rest in peace. Hey, where you got this information from there? Anyway, Charles Graham says, good morning to you. May I humbly correct Dr. Mawuto's assertion of the central government's inability to operate successful local industries. In the UK, which is a typical capitalist economy, over 95% of the nation's housing stock was built by the state. Also, the NHS, built and run by the state, is the largest employer of that country. Let's remember, capitalism has never worked anywhere in the southern hemisphere and never will. Thanks, Charles from the UK. Charles, thank you.
That's a powerful one then.
Capitalism has never worked anywhere. Which is why sometimes, because they know capitalism is failing, then they introduce social intervention programs.
But capitalism has now remained a mere theory in the textbooks.
It's a theory. It's a theory.
In the textbooks.
Yeah, in the textbooks. I agree. I'm now laughing like you. Let me come to you, Dr. Marzouk, on the Uncle Kuanyido, who's expulsion. I'll come to you. I know you are keen on speaking. I don't know why you have so much interest in Kuanyido. Is it because they are all from?
No, it's Koku. I'm also Koku. So.
Oh, you are Koku.
Yeah, I'm Koku.
Hey.
Yeah. So.
Okay, please.
Okay, and I'm Kofi. I'm Kofi. Yes. Commenting on Kweku.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it is an interesting story. It is also about a seeming friction between criticism and punishment. Of course, Kweku Anyidoho has every right to criticize his political party. And we should not create the impression that in partisan, in democratic politics, political parties are demigods. Political parties cannot be criticized. But we have the term self-criticism. And I think self-criticism should be accepted in every decent community. So Kweku Anyidoho has the right, in the constitution of his party, in the constitution of the Republic of Ghana, in the constitution of wisdom, the people, civilized people, to criticize his political party. So if he does that...
Consistently for 6 years.
Just a minute. Yeah. If he does that, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. But then, the party also has rules and regulations. The party is also an institution. The party is not from the jungle. The party knows the dichotomy between criticism and insults in the name of criticism. The two are different. In other words, the party understands constructive criticism and destructive criticism.
I like that.
Yes.
So in the estimation of the party, if it feels that any criticism from any quarters amounts to destruction, the party has a primary responsibility to strike in a form of punishment.
I agree.
Let us agree that ours is democracy, not tyranny. So if we want to exhibit internal democracy, we must also do it within the confines of rationality. But if internal democracy is also not welcome, then we are creating an environment for internal tyranny. I strongly believe that the institution as a political party is bigger than every member. And therefore, if the party feels that Kweku Anyidoho's action amounts to punishment, of course, it is within the right of the party to do so. And of course, if you analyze the contents of the utterances of the gentleman as an independent, objective person, you will definitely come to a conclusion that the party has taken the right decision.
Okay.
The right decision in the sense that at any time, I am not a politician, but I should be interested in the performance of any political party. Because I'm interested in governance. I'm interested in the prosperity of our nation. And in multi-party democracy, parties are fundamental structures. So at any time at all, every loyalist of every political party should be seen as somebody who is committed to the consolidation of constitutional order. And if your utterances are destructive of your own political party, that becomes unfortunate and that becomes punishable. Unless, of course, the party is operating on the basis of jungle rules. If it is a human-based party, if it is regulated by rules, if it is based on respect, if it is based on solidarity, if it is based on any other value central to the survival of democracy, then of course it will not accept any form of destructive criticism.
Right.
And it is within the powers of the party to define what amounts to destructive criticism. Perhaps in one political party, let me use NPP and DC. Maybe in NPP, any criticism that may amount to destruction may amount to construction in NDC and vice versa.
That's true.
So if the party decides as an institution, it cannot, in fact in this case, it cannot be the reality that one person is right. Because the action of that gentleman has been very consistent. And the consistency of that action can be defined within one vice, that is destruction. So if the party feels that the utterances are destructive, then the party has every right to take any action. But let me add that the party may, in fact, I would have suggested, if I'm given the opportunity, I would suggest to the party to suspend him. If I have that is my personal opinion, to suggest to
and not sack him.
And not sack him. You know why? Every political party should not at all create any opportunity for lifelong enmity. And whether we like it or not, Koku Anidoho has his admirers. If he doesn't have any admirer at all, he has a family. And if multi-party democracy is about numbers, in fact, quantitative, not qualitative. You know, every political party will go for 10 fools when it comes to voting, instead of one wise man, right? So it's about quantitative value, not qualitative one. So I will suggest, even though I don't have any problem with that, this is just an alternative. I would suggest that the party should rather suspend him and make him understand that if he doesn't repent, then the dismissal will follow. There is an Arab adage that al-iqab, al-itab qabla al-iqab, warning before punishment. That the suspension should have been in a form of warning. And if he does not heed the warning, then of course he becomes a subject matter of punishment. Because I believe that any punishment that does not seek to reform is as ugly as the offense that it seeks to address. The punishment is right. The party has the right to do so. The punishment is good. The dismissal is good, but it would have been the best if he had rather been suspended. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. You see, in the Bible, they say that the hand that will create a bottleneck for you to see the kingdom of God, you amputate it. You don't suspend it. Is it in Islam? Is the same thing in Islam?
Oh, no.
Okay.
In Islam, we give rooms for reform. We give for repentance for a very long time before we take action.
Yeah, but yeah, of course. But I think the Christians also do that. This is more like the final straw.
Yeah, but I've just been informed that he has ever been suspended, and he has been suspended on a number of occasions.
I think that he merits it. And you see, Honorable gave very valid grounds for the decision, because I mean, you cannot have somebody who claims to be a member of a political party, right? You can disagree, that's okay. But then you don't openly criticize and even call your flag bearer names. Yeah, I mean, I think
you can even openly criticize, but that should be constructive.
Yeah, of course, not destructive. Because then one that has the potency of destroying the fortunes of the party goes beyond just criticisms. Then it's about you wanting to destroy. You know, and also let's also bring this to the attention of the viewers that there's ever been a time where they said that they now want to fight and bring back the spirit of the NDC. I don't know if you've ever heard him say that. Dr. Rashid, do you remember him ever saying that he feels that the NDC has derailed from the trajectory of what it stands for, the ideological trajectory, and therefore they want to fight and bring it back? I don't know if you I found that to be very strange.
You know, my argument.
1 second, Dr. Gokumato.
Yes, but just one minute.
Just one.
My argument about the suspension is just to ensure that his dismissal does not bring any confusion or reduce the value of NDC.
No, I think that he's actually lost his own value in the NDC.
Yes, that's all.
He may have had some following, but it gets to a point where people actually get tired.
Yes. But then let it be on record. Let me emphasize that the NDC has done the right thing within its own powers. But in the interest of reconciliation, in the interest of maintaining its support base, suspension, in my opinion, would have been better.
I think, well, I agree with you, but Saki for me is the best. Anyway, better and best, I think there's anything see you at the lecture, English lecture for that matter. Let me continue, Dr. Kokumaoto.
Kwame.
Yes.
You see, I laughed when you asked the question. In fact, Honorable spoke very well. Yeah. As usual, Honorable will polish it a little bit.
We'll diplomatize it.
Thank you. And they will make sure that the political sentiment will, at the end of the day, probably speak well of his stance. Then Doc also came out with, yes, indeed, structures must be followed. Once it's a matter of choice. Religion, party politics, once you join it, there are dictates that you have to work within. But Kwame, my problem has to do with the hypocrisy and then the Pharaohism of some of the current NDC national executives, as well as some well-known leaders of the NDC. I quite remember very well, very well, when their opponent had the same problem. The known faces of NDC today accuse the NPP of divisiveness. That if those people cannot manage themselves as a party, how should Ghanaians give them the mandate to manage this country when we're facing the same problem? Look,
hypocrisy.
I resonate with the submission of Doc, as I mean my two honorable docs, that once you decide to join a certain association, you have to work within the dictate of that association. And once you go contrary to the dictates, you must face the sanctions. I agree with you. But you see, my problem with the current NDC executives is the way and why they choose, they pick and choose what to do. Kwame, we live in this country. You know very well. I don't know why they couldn't dismiss Rollins of the brother's memory. He even likened the NDC as very corrupt, and that was they were trying to remove the corrupt ones in it. They were bringing in more corrupt ones into the party. This is even more destructive if you want to take it from the level of critics that are destructive. Where the founder himself says that whilst we are trying to take out the corrupt ones, we take out 20%, you bring in 90%. It's more destructive. But he was not cautioned, neither was he even suspended, let alone be dismissed.
He was the founder of the party.
Thank you. So, what at all did those people say? You know, I guess it's not only Koku alone. This man I listen to most often. Alberto Jacobs. I think he's also been dismissed.
Sacked. Yeah.
Sacked. For critiquing his own party.
There's a difference between critiquing and destroying.
No, they are all critics, but some are constructive, others are destructive. So at the end of the day, there's criticism. But you see, it tells you the level of intolerance of some of these people. When I say intolerance, it boils down to the fact that, you see, it is something that is imbued in our body politics as people. You can take it from even a cultural context, that growing up, you have no right as a young man to criticize the elderly. That's one of the problems inhibiting the country we want it to be developed. To be frank with you, I quite remember in the midst of some diplomat, when I told them some of our cultural values, that whilst growing up, I couldn't stand in front. It was a taboo for you to publicly criticize the elderly. Kwame, I don't know whether you went through this.
I don't have
but you see, the current trend of governance doesn't really tolerate some of those things. We should be open to listen to everyone. Let the people judge. If you really want to practice democracy. Now, let me come back to the issue of whether Kwame deserves, Koku deserves to be expelled or not. We all know, from all indications, we know Koku has been disgruntled over the years. We've heard a lot of rumors, the friction between himself and President Mahama before he even became the president himself. The fact that Koku is one of the dearest loyalists to late Atta Mills. And these are various factors that people will say that, yes, indeed, he's swaying away, drifting away from the tenet of the current NDC philosophy or ideology. Okay, and for that matter, I think they should get rid of Koku Anidoho. Koku, it's unfortunate, but you see, maybe this one goes to you. If really you belong to a party like this, what you have to do, just as Doc mentioned, you work within the dictates. And you have the option once again to say that, look, I don't want to work within the dictates because there's some wrongdoing out there that I want everybody to know. So let me sacrifice my membership of the party and tell the whole world that the NDC party is drifting from their fundamental principles. And for that matter, I don't belong to them again. In fact, he should have said this Because you know the consequence of your actions. You will never survive critiquing your own party in public in our part of the world.
That's a suicide.
I'm telling you, you can do it in the US.
That's suicide.
You can do it in UK. In fact, in US, you see a Republican Party in Parliament, okay, critiquing and voting against. They don't only criticize; they even vote against policies introduced to Senate, Parliament by the president.
And
how many do you see in this country?
They get a consequence.
No, how many? They done the consequence because of their country.
They go to their constituency, campaign against them, and get them out of parliament.
They done the consequence.
And US, both.
Yeah.
They done the consequence. Are you okay? How many?
But at least they done the consequences. And they get the right things done.
Yeah, it's done. Kwame, you can't remember even this year alone. We sit here and lament over the actions of our MPs. For the first time, some Ghanaians were of the expectation that given the equal numbers in parliament, we should expect some favorable, I mean, some level of well thought decisions. I'm choosing my words very well. We've been lamenting here.
Dutch contempt of parliament.
yeah, very well. But the same issue we have been complaining over the years are still going through like that. And hardly will you find a ruling party member, I mean, advancing or submitting a contrary view to a policy in parliament. Hardly. And even voting against it in a part of the world. So it tells you that in our cultural context,
I think that they did something. They did. I think I wasn't expecting that, but I mean, Alban Bagwin, you know, his appointment was done by both the NDC and the MPP.
Compromise.
Yeah, I mean, even though you can look at all of those other, you know, attending issues, but the reality is also that we had some people from the MPP vote for one. Yeah, even if it is half.
One.
Yeah.
It does,
but that vote changed. But it changed.
It changed a lot. It tells you a lot that look, people want to speak, and till date we don't even know the one who voted.
Well, we can attribute all of this into our constitution. I mean, the constitution is just. Yeah. I think it's a book that has outlived its usefulness.
Oh, I mean, we've been talking about it until we decide as a country.
How many are we supposed to appoint from Parliament? 50 plus 1, eh?
50 plus 1 members into the executive.
How can there be checks and balances?
There can't be any checks and balances.
I mean, how can they can never. The principle of checks and balances is defeated.
Yeah.
No, but that's in Ghana. In the United Kingdom Parliament, all members of the executive, all ministers must be members of parliament. But there's a check and balance.
It's a system. It's a system they're operating.
We are operating a hybrid system. The American system plus the British system, we've combined them. So both in the extreme work. So we in the middle should even work better. So it's just about the consciousness of it, which we should be advocating.
Yeah, so Honorable, you think that will work for us in this country? Over the years, choosing majority of your ministers from parliament.
But let's not forget, 1 minute, let's not forget that in Britain, we have what we call parliamentary supremacy.
That's I say, see, the system they are operating there. We have a unique problem in this country, where it is rare for someone who is working for both systems of governance, are you okay, to come out and, I mean, probably come out with his or her stance.
Yeah,
especially
on a particular issue.
In the event he's working in the capacity as an MP, a lawmaker.
Okay.
Fine, it put him in a very tight corner.
So do you support this or you don't support that? Because we need to know what to next topic.
I need to. If I ask for Koko, I need to. He should have even told NDC that
he has resigned.
I don't want to be part of it. Because yes, indeed, if you want to look at it from the principles of political movement point of view, Kwame, he's gone beyond dismissal.
Okay.
To be frank with you.
All right.
Some of us enjoy criticisms from members of parties so that we will know what is going on there. Are you okay?
Okay.
But if you come out openly to critique.
No critique. Destroy.
No, you see, criticisms, as I said, some of them is an intention behind it.
Yeah. Anyway,
okay.
So the intention is to destroy the party.
Destroy.
It's clearly, and the reason why there's that sort of admission on our side is because of the utterances in public space. In fact, what he himself has said regarding the current state of the NDC, to the point that he says, "Oh, the NDC needs some realignment. We need to revamp the NDC."
Those are very small criticisms. Those ones is not a problem. The ones you be contesting the election, then he will predict that you are going to lose.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, and then
if you are not more you don't believe in the principle of the
Anyway, thank you very much, my brother, Dr. Kwekuma Uto. Is your mayhem report ready? Let me start with you, Dr. Kwekuma Uto. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Yeah, just 2 minutes.
The time is gone.
Yeah, it's far gone.
It's unfortunate whenever I comment. In fact, since this issue erupted, I have been very, very particular with my comments. It tells you a number of issues that we do not really place so much emphasis on intelligence in our part of the world. In fact, if you have so much intelligence, you invest in intelligence, some of those things could be prevented. Okay? Losing a life because of our inability to predict what people, in most societies, living in Zongo, growing up around these areas, before something is blown out of proportion, look, it's not like living in East Legon, where everybody lives in a very enclosed household and then people don't communicate. But here we are. Oh, before the youth are even gathered, we are going here. So does it mean that throughout, for a whole day, 24 hours, our national security intelligence couldn't pick any intelligence that there was something going to happen?
Seriously.
It's unfortunate. So if Chairman, if you have experienced the normal Zongo life,
yes,
you get to know that, I'll call you. Chairman, let's move here. This is happening. Have you heard this? Before you say Jack, it will take a day or probably 2-3 hours for us to assemble. However, the question is, national security, do we have enough intelligence on the grounds to ensure that whatever the people are thinking about, we can quickly step in to avert any unfortunate mayhem? And that's where we are. We'll continue critiquing the system in order to put the systems in place. To the stage where, I don't want to politicize this one, but to the stage where when you even cough, and that cough will probably infringe on somebody's rights, the national security intelligence must know. And that is where we are lacking as a state.
That's a fact.
I mean, we live in this country where a whole major street was blocked with sand for a whole night. And so does it mean the people in the city, it's not like in a forest though, a nearby city, and our national security couldn't pick any intelligence for the people to even veer into the city and take over a police station?
It's a problem.
It tells you that we have a problem with our national security. And I'm very happy that, you see, listening to the National Security Minister, he will tell you that this is the major problems we have. And that's why he's working so much on intelligence. And that is where we should go as a country. We must work on intelligence to solve problems. But I'm very happy that this report is out. But the most important thing is that let us respect the report, the outcome of the report. And government should implement the recommendations. You see, normally, when you use the white paper to rubbish some recommendations in a probe, a commission, you have established yourself. Over time, the people will lose confidence in it. You know, I was so happy when the national chief imam, look at the age, but quickly flew to the place, went to commiserate to the people. You know that symbolism and the peaceful nature of that man. I always say it's one of growing up. I've never known any national chief imam than our chief imam that we have today. So these are the people holding on to the peace of this country. Kwame, to be frank with you, sometimes we downplay the role of religion in the peace and security of this country. But let's be very careful. The day we lose it out, we have nothing again. Because the average Ghanaian is even losing interest in politicians. Some have already lost interest in them. So what holds us as a country is our religious leaders these days. Honorable, you bear with me, that no matter what, if your sheikh or your imam calls you, no matter how angry you are, look, you can't sleep until you drive. It's even a privilege for him to call you, let alone come to your house. Look at what Kwaku Anido is doing to President Mahama. Say all sorts of things. Yeah. It tells you that we are losing out of it. Right. So, Kwame, yes, sir. What I can say is that there is a recommendation to punish the soldiers involved. I don't know the sort of punishment they are recommending. And they sack the MCE. It simply means that the MCE has left on his job. Mr. President, please, the people are watching. We should not pick and choose who to punish. If you really believe, you have confidence in the committee, the commission you set up, kindly implement the recommendation. Else, over time, it's not just about the NPP, but it's about the country. Yep. The people in this country will begin to lose confidence, and setting up commissions will not be accepted by people in our part of the
Thank you very much. Yeah. That's what I should probably, please.
I don't know what to say after he has said everything, because he has said the exact thing that should be the case. Okay. You know, that we should up our national security game, take care of national security, ensure that people do not feel that they are the ones targeted and hurt all the time. I listened to a social commentator who said that all the names that you hear are dead and are shot and killed are mostly in Muslim names. Yeah. And it's hurting the people. So for the chief imam, as he rightly said, could, you know, had left Accra, you know, could the chief, if the chief imam left Accra and visited the place and commensurate with the people, it has melted down a lot of tension, and that's good enough. I agree with him. Right. And it's also important, like he said, for the president to be aware that these things can just go beyond party matters. That's a fact. They can hurt the nation, and that something has to be done. I don't have much to say. Right.
Dr. Mazu.
Yes. Yes. It's unfortunate, but I'm happy that the report is out. I'm also happy that a kind of punishment has been proposed. I'm hoping that the report will be accepted by the president. Let me say that I trust the president. Right. I know he will do the right thing. Right. Especially so when the Ministry of Defense has taken a kind of action against the errant soldiers in war. Right. Yes. So I believe that this time the white paper will be actionable and not meant to water down the effort of good people. You give me the opportunity to emphasize the role of religious diplomacy in peace building. A lot of people don't understand. If you go to the social media, you could see some people lambasting the revered, eminent national chief imam just for going to Edra. Why? For whatever reasons, I don't know. Perhaps they do not understand the import of religious diplomacy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, behind the scenes, the Pope has been used by the UN to quench fire.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, the Grand Sheikh Hassan Sisi had been used by UN of the Blessed Moon, had been used by UN to quench fire. So we need to understand the dynamics of contemporary intelligence gathering, intelligence management, peace building, conflict prevention, and one of the tools is religious diplomacy. Yeah. So what His Eminence National Chief Imam did in Ejura has nothing to do with politics, even if it gears towards the political fortunes of a political party. That is secondary, that is peripheral.
Yeah.
The fundamental objective here is to imply and to leverage his power of religious diplomacy. And I think it worked very well. Right. His Eminence National Chief Imam is a personality that can be used as a national figure. We adore him, we love him, we thank him. Let me come to the security, the intelligence matter. I agree with you perfectly. But let me tell you something behind the scenes. Sometimes it is not the intelligence failure. It is rather the failure of implementing the intelligence gathered. I'm telling you, sometimes it is not the intelligence failure. If you work as a journalist, I had the opportunity to work closely with the national security. And if you work with the national security, you can understand the sharp difference between intelligence gathering and the application of the intelligence. Sometimes the intelligence experts gather the needed intelligence, but processing and application of the needed intelligence become the problem, right? So here, it is true that national security should try as much as possible to respect the intelligence gathered. Right. And I'm also happy, let me end, because I know my uncle wants to go. Let me end. I'm happy that the report has done something to showcase to the whole Ghanaian, to the whole country, that a mere soldier, a mere recruit, does no longer hold the power of life and death. Right. And that when a soldier misbehaves, he will be dealt with. Right. From Dipku Ishmael Awao Traffic says, share to you all, especially my very hard-working MP, Honorable Dr. Rash Pelpo. Champion Koku's dismissal from the great NDC is long overdue. Kudos to our Council of Elders and leadership for taking such a bold decision in the interest of the party. No institution or organization can survive without discipline, and the NDC is no exception. President Kufuor and his incompetent ministers aren't financially and morally disciplined. That is why we are almost going to HIPIC. I salute Bunas, the heavyweight NDC regional chairman for Upper West Region. Thank you guys for your time this one. I appreciate all of you. Thank you to the viewers for watching today's edition of Good Morning Africa. My name again is Kwame Usuda, so I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.